Be sharing with you in this video how to become selfless by being selfish first. And so let me explain. Let me explain really what I mean by this. Let me plead my case for you in this video. Before I explain anything in this video, really what I want to share with you is that if there's any part of you that has ever wanted to help a person, or you want to help a person in your life, what I really want to share with you is that you have to worry about yourself first before you actually help them. And so let me explain what I mean by this in this video. The first thing that I want to share with you in this video is to understand that true selflessness can only happen when you are selfish. And so again, let me plead my case here. Let me explain a little bit further. So think about this. If you give every part of yourself to a person, to a situation, and there's no part of your soul left, you've given everything that you have, you've lost yourself fully in that process. I have a question, and that question is it possible that that is still an ego-driven desire to do so? You might think like, oh, well, that's true selflessness, right? It's just to give everything that you have to everybody until you have nothing left and then you're drained. Is it really? Is it really? Is it possible that there's a better path? Maybe a more honorable path that's better for you and the other so that everybody can win? Like, is that possible? Has that ever been considered as a possibility? And so really the claim that I'm making here, to answer that, what you might be thinking, I'm making a rhetorical question, is really the answer, of course, is that there is a better alternative, I believe. And the alternative is to understand that you can't just give away everything that you have, every part of you, at every single level. I'm talking at every single level, and then you're left with nothing. And I'm not talking about anything material here necessarily. It can be material. It can be in the form of money, of course. It can be you're giving money. It can be you're giving too much of your time. It can be too much resources. But I'm talking about something deeper than all of this. Something about much deeper than anything at the surface level. And so really what I'm sharing here is that if you give too much of who you really are and you don't remember who you actually are in the process, that you're not really being selfless. You're not really helping a person. You're not really benefiting a person when you sort of operate in this space. And so remember that if you pull your consciousness inward and you hold that consciousness within yourself and you understand that you can be aware of your state of being as you operate in your life, because you don't need to take time away from others to do this. It's about doing this while you work. It's about doing this while you talk to a person. It's about doing this while you do what you're doing in the world. And then that is true selflessness, is being selfish enough to care about your state, but you're still operating in the world. And so the second thing that I want to share with you in this video to go a little bit deeper in this process is to understand that really service can only happen when you care about your peace first. And so this is kind of like the same thing that I'm saying, but reworded in a slightly different way, but it's still a little bit different as well, because really what I'm talking about here is peace. And what do I mean by peace? Yes, I am talking about a state, a physical state that your body can feel, but at the same time though, paradoxically, I'm talking about something deeper as well. Because yes, we can be conscious of our feelings, we can be conscious of our emotions, we can be conscious of our values, we can be conscious of our opinions, we can be conscious of our preferences, we can be conscious of which actions we want to take in our life, we can be conscious of how we manage our money, we can be conscious of how we act in the workplace, like all of these things we can do. But really what I'm pointing to here is, can you be conscious of who you are actually prior to all of this stuff? So can you be conscious of consciousness itself? Is that a possibility for you? And so really what I want to share with you here is that, again, if you want to be a benefit to the world in any shape or form, if you lose yourself in that process, what I'm claiming here is that it's not really helping. It's not going to be beneficial. Because haven't you ever heard the term that misery feeds off of misery? That negativity feeds off of negativity? So when you have a very miserable person that believes that they have an ample amount of time to complain and to argue and to be upset about this present moment, haven't you ever noticed that this person really has no vision and no drive, and they believe that they have so much time on their hands? So much time to be negative. But the person that has a clear vision, that understands really the essence of this present moment and the benefit of being connected to this present moment, I think what a lot of people forget is that that essence always exists right here, right now, but we forget because we want to help somebody so much. But then you help somebody so much that you've both lost touch with your essence. And it's like, is that really helping the situation? Is that really benefiting both of you? Like, I want you to look at this from an unbiased perspective. If you have two people that are creating misery for each other and they're both complaining and they're both negative, and I'm not saying that complaining and negativity can't be a part of selflessness and truly honoring two people. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that if you're not conscious as you do it, if there's no conscious awareness as you go through your life, there's not really going to be any opportunity for any kind of selflessness whatsoever. And the claim that I'm making is that is 100% ego. 100% ego. You know what I mean? And it's like, you want to be aware. Like, I'm not saying that really doing anything in the external world necessarily has a correlation with true selflessness. Because true selflessness can manifest as anything happening in the physical form at infinite levels that our physical ego minds cannot possibly begin to understand. So, if that is the case, really what I'm pointing to here is just something a little bit more metaphysical, but it goes full circle because remember, the perspective that you have about something has the ability to shape that situation differently. If you see something in a different way, it has the ability to change the way that situation goes. That's what people forget. Your perspective does matter. You know, it's not just that you have thoughts and that you have perspectives, it's that they literally shape your world. They shape the way that you operate. And if all of this is done unconsciously with no awareness, no metaphysical awareness of what is happening at a deeper level, there's no metaphysics, there's no consciousness, what's happening is that you're always going to be operating from selfishness, from your ego. No selflessness, no purity, no excellence, no discipline, none of this stuff can happen when you are not valuing your peace first. So care about how you feel. I invite and encourage you, no matter how much of a hard worker you think you are, or whatever it is that you do in your life, just remember to not lose yourself in what you do. And I'm not saying you have to run away and meditate in a cave to be happy. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm inviting and encouraging a spiritual practice to be done every single moment of your life. Every single possible moment of your life can be a spiritual practice to be better in your own life. And then my claim is that that is true service, that is value. That is where your value comes from. How do you offer value to the world? Value, I believe, is consciousness. Consciousness manifesting in the form of whatever form it takes. But you need to build the capacity to have more consciousness in your life than to spread that love to others. That's what love, I think, is, and there's many definitions of love that people could have, but what I mean is the true essence of love, not the human emotion of love, where you are selfish enough to care about how you feel and then you want to share that peace with others. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to make them do the same thing that you're doing. Again, it means holding peace in your own life first, and then whatever manifests of that is what manifests of that. But the priority is you. You are the priority. Because you have to lead by example. Haven't you ever heard this saying, be the change that you want to see in the world? That's exactly where that comes from. You know, when somebody says, be the change that you want to see in the world, it means you want to be a living embodiment and a living example of whatever it is that you care about in your life, and not to actually forget that that's what value is. Value is, of course, mentorship sometimes and telling people what to do, but it's also about holding the energy of who you actually want to be so much that you're just a leading example of light, of beingness, of being who you want to be, and leading by true example. And so the final thing that I want to share with you in this video is really just to ask you a question, and that question is, if you're too giving, is it possible that you're actually taking? That you're actually taking from the situation? Because think about it. If you're giving everything that you have at every single possible level, at a physical level, at an emotional level, possibly at a financial level, even at a spiritual level, and there's no part of you left, is it possible that it's like almost, that's an energy of taking? That's an energy of stealing and taking and trying to take from others, because a person of true purity, of true selflessness, doesn't give away their peace. That's what I believe. That's what I believe, is that if you want to be a true teacher, if you want to be a true leader can't be a true leader if they're attached to their past and who they thought that they were even 5 seconds ago, definitely not 10 years ago. See, if you want to be an actual leader, you have to be a person that does transform in their own life. And the only way that you can open any possibility of being able to transform in your own life is definitely not by giving every single part of your soul where there's nothing left. There's nothing left for you to give. There's nothing left for you to even be happy within your own life. And so really, I'm not saying that you have to have money in your bank account to do this at all, or lots of it on the other side. I'm not talking about having a certain amount of resources or embodying a certain type of character trait necessarily, although this type of stuff and character traits can change naturally when you connect more to the physical part of who you are, and you can develop better traits as you become more conscious. The claim that I'm making here is just to be aware that, just to see the metaphysical dynamic of what true value is. Like, what is true value? You know what I mean? Because obviously everybody does different things in the world. I'm recording a video right now. You might have some other stuff that you do. You might have other work. There's other stuff that I focus on. You might be in a relationship sometimes, not in a relationship other times. There's many different dynamics in your life, right? You might be engaged in different relationships at different times, at different situations. But the key is to understand that metaphysically, where's the place that you're coming from as you engage in these activities, and notice the difference energetically in how much you truly give when you're connected to the metaphysical truth of who you are, versus looking back at your life when you lost touch with who you really were. Notice how you operated. Haven't you ever noticed that? And this is where true wisdom comes from. Don't be afraid to look at your past and not judge it and say, like, okay, well, if you were actually not having consciousness in those moments, don't judge yourself and don't let yourself fall into a spell of more unconsciousness and more negativity and more ego. Look back and say, well, actually, from this space of consciousness right now, I can actually very see in hindsight that actually, yes, I did have more emotional outbursts, emotional negativity, attachment, more. You can see that when the ego gets attached to itself, this is what I believe leads to cheating, lying, and stealing, and negative behaviors that we all do not want in this world to happen. So it's not that I'm saying that these things can't just happen anyway and that life is perfect, but what I'm saying is that if you want to minimize the probability of these things happening, what I believe is that we have to come from a place of just seeing where are we giving every single part of ourselves away, to the point where you're not even doing anything of benefit to anybody anymore. You're just creating misery for everyone. So be aware of that dynamic. That's what I believe can really change your life. And it definitely did change my life, because what I realized is that to be a person that gives value is to prioritize your own state of consciousness first. Don't feel guilty for that. Don't feel selfish for that. See, guilt and shame and negativity, all of this stuff comes up if you are embodying something based on your past that you no longer want to embody. That's all that really is. That's all that's really happening. So if we can start to notice when we're recreating the past emotions in this present moment right now, what we can begin to do is notice why that is happening. Why is this occurring? Why is it occurring that you're in this present moment? Something happened 20 years ago, yet we're recreating the pain of it in this present moment right now. Is there a solution to this? I believe that the solution to this whole process is 99% consciousness, and it is awareness. So really, you can ask yourself these questions. You can look at this question that I asked you, like, if you're too giving, is it really taking? That's a good question, but the answer to that question, is it possible that the answer to that question won't come in the form of another idea? Have you ever considered that answers can come in the form of insights, where you just become aware of the answer? A lot of times what I find is that instead of seeking the answer in the external world and seeking it in a YouTube video or in a book or in a Google search or asking a person, have you ever considered that you can simply become the answer in your life? Become the answer. Because you have access to God, infinite intelligence, the present moment. Everything that you've ever wanted exists in this present moment right now, and the possibilities that exist in this present moment, that where you need to take action, you don't need to, but you can take action towards what you want, to connect to these ideas, to be more connected to these ideas, to become conscious of these ideas. How do you do it? Through divine intelligence, through connecting to this present moment. How do you get connected to divine intelligence? Can you become conscious of the answer? Not in a book. Is it possible that you can realize the answer? Not me telling you the answer in this video. Even if I tell you the answer and I say it's beingness, it's consciousness, what does that really do for you? It can only do something for you if you're actually conscious of it and you operate your life from this space. So if you operate your life from this space and you make an effort to do it, and you make an effort, what I believe is that you will truly begin to honor yourself and you'll actually be a selfless person. People will respect you more because you're going to be not just helping others for some fictitious idea of good. You're truly being good. How do you differentiate between a ego fictional story of what good is and actual goodness? You want to actually have a relationship with God himself. Have a relationship with God. Have a relationship with divine intelligence. When you have a relationship with these things for real, you're going to operate from a space of not 100% certainty. It's not that you know everything. You definitely don't know everything, If you think that you know everything, then you're still having too much pride to have humble